right now, a compelling new theory is emerging as we continue to report on the search for Nancy Guthrie. TMZ's Harvey Levin walking through a key timeline in a reported ransom note and how it may narrow the area investigators are focusing on right now. Watch this.
In the letter, it says they would return her back to Tucson. So they also give a time frame of how long it would take after they received the money to return her to Tucson. So there's a time frame. Now, if you look at the time frame, then you say, well, you can draw a circle around Tucson to see how long maximum it would take to get her back there. And they're not going to fly her back, because the last thing they're going to do is go to an airport where Nancy Guthrie shows ID. That's not going to happen. So clearly it would be driving. And they're not going to drive at 100 miles an hour because if they get stopped for speeding, it's over. This is Tucson right here. If you look at this red circle, that is the radius of the maximum amount of time it would take to get her back to Tucson, all around this circle. Now that's a big area for sure, but it is not the full United States. It's not the world. At least it's a defined area. And again, if the letter is legitimate, then it would seem, based on the amount of time maximum it would take to bring her back to Tucson, it's this area that I would think authorities are most interested in.
Welcome to a new hour of America Reports. I'm John Roberts in Washington. That was fascinating, Sandra.
It is. Let's hope. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. So let's get straight to America's Most Wanted co-host Callahan Walsh. Callahan, thank you for being here. Please do share with us where you are with this search.
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, I don't think law enforcement is that much closer to finding Nancy Guthrie than they were in day one. We're starting to see billboards being popped up. The sheriff had mentioned new billboards that they were going to put up. And that tells me that they might still have really no clue where she is. Relying on the public has always been a great force multiplier for law enforcement. But with that clue that came out of the press conference, not so sure that they are going in any proper direction, right? We rely on things like cell phone tracking, being able to track a license plate, credit cards being used. All those things are not available here. Even camera security footage, not accessible. Even the DNA came back as Nancy's. That doesn't bode well for her, but it doesn't give us any idea of the perpetrator either. And so all these regular investigative tools that law enforcement so regularly relies on just aren't there in this case. And it's really unfortunate, because they're really going to have to think outside the box and do some major digging to bring up any clues that are worthwhile in this case.
Hey, Callahan, it's John Roberts here. In terms of the legitimacy of these ransom notes, an Apple Watch, apparently there's reference to floodlights. In the ransom note, there's also reference to an Apple Watch. There you see Nancy Guthrie on the set of the Today Show with Savannah Guthrie, and you can see that she's wearing, well, I think this might be something else, but she was wearing an Apple Watch. Oh, no, there it is. Sorry, I was looking at it backwards. She's wearing an Apple Watch there in that photograph. And there was reference to the Apple Watch in that ransom note. Here's what Harvey Levin said about it, because he read that note several times.
There was something in that letter that caught my eye at the end. What I found interesting, because we knew she wore an Apple Watch. There are pictures of her with Savannah with that watch. But they mentioned where the watch was, the placement of the watch in the house. And that's not something that was out there.
So this all occurred at 2 o'clock in the morning. You can wear your Apple Watch to monitor your sleep, but at some point in the day, you've got to charge it. So was she asleep with it on a charger? Did she have it on her person? Apparently, there's reference to that in the ransom note that would lend some credibility to it. What do you think?
You know, it's tough to say, because some of the information initially that we thought only was available to law enforcement was out there to the public. And this letter didn't come right after she was kidnapped. It took some time. And whoever created this ransom note could have scraped the internet, could have looked through media reports and tried to put together information that seemed like that they had information on the inside of the crime scene, inside that house. And like you said, we charge, anybody who wears an Apple Watch is pretty much charging it every night. So that is a routine behavior that almost every Apple Watch user is going through. And so it's not too far of a stretch of imagination to predict that type of behavior.
As far as the information that's provided so far, Callahan, what are you more curious about that you have not gotten any detail on?
Mine has been the whereabouts of the medication. There's been conflicting reports, and just very few of them, on where that medication is. We know her wallet was left in the home, her cell phone, her purse, and we do know that she needed this vital medication. But where is that medication? If this is someone who took Nancy that is close to her and was planning to ransom her, they need her alive. And so if that medication was not found in the home and was taken by the abductors, perhaps that indicates someone knew her intimately, knew that she had this medical condition, and knew to keep her alive they would need to have that medication. So that's been one big thing for me. I just haven't gotten clear answers on whether that medication was actually found in the home.
Yeah, and in terms of whether or not she took it with her, if she didn't take it with her and she needs it, and there aren't any heart medications that I know that if you don't have them for 24 hours, you're going to die. I mean, over time, yeah, if you've got high blood pressure, you need to keep that up. If you're taking antiarrhythmics, a few days out, you might start to get some arrhythmias. But if you're a kidnapper and you're trying to replenish that, you're going to have to get it from a pharmacy, and for that, you're going to need a prescription. Unless you've got some doctor who you can call in to give it to you, or unless you're in Mexico and you can just go get it from the local pharmacy. So in terms of keeping her medicated to the point where her health is restored and she stays vigorous, you've got to get a hold of that medication, Callahan.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think initial reports made it seem like she needed it within 24 hours or she was going to die. Now, we've learned that that's not likely the case. It would take several days. But if the abductors, again, they have these multiple deadlines, they know they may have to have her for an extended period of time. And going out to a pharmacy, that just, you know, anytime the abductors have to go out into the real world and make purchases or be seen by security cameras is exposure for them. That's a liability. So it would be easiest for them to just grab the medication from the home and keep it with them. But we'll see. I mean, there's been so many twists and turns in this case with very little positive resolution. Right now, you know, anything is still a possibility. Goodness
gracious. I mean, it's a long time for somebody like that to be away from their home, their medicines, everything. It's just obviously, it's scary stuff. Thank you so much, Callahan, for joining us.
Thanks, Callahan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, one of the big questions about this case is what Nancy Guthrie's neighbors may know. Correspondent Matt Finn has been speaking to those neighbors in Tucson. He's now with us with a live report. Matt?
Hey, John. So Nancy's house behind us is buried pretty deep in this neighborhood. Call it what you want, private, remote, secluded, but in general, this is a ways outside of town. A lot of intentional twists and turns to get back here. And one thing you will notice is there's not a lot of streetlights around here. A lot of neighborhoods in Arizona take what's called light pollution very seriously. These neighborhoods don't emit a lot of light. So when you're out here at night, you're likely not going to see much. And I talked to one neighbor who says, you know, even if you have a security camera on your front door somewhere on your property, what's it going to catch? Is it going to catch just a silhouette or the outline of a car? So here's the exchange with that one neighbor.
Oh no, there's no lights whatsoever here at all.
So even if you have a camera on your front door, it may not see who's passing by.
Nothing. Our camera would not, I mean, we have a long driveway, you cannot see anything.
Right. And that makes you wonder what people can get away with.
Oh, with everything, yeah.
Yeah. So some of the neighbors I talked to say they knew Nancy directly or had met her at one point. Others said, tragically, they didn't realize that Savannah Guthrie's mother lived here until they watched the Today Show or until this recent tragedy.
I mean, I think a lot of neighbors feel distraught over what has happened and the fact that it's our neighborhood, but a beloved member of our neighborhood.
I think she was just a normal person, just like everyone else that lives in this community, kept to herself. You know, she had a life. Everyone has lives here. They go to church, they go out to dinner, they got daughters, friends. You know, it's just, that's why people live in Tucson. You know, it's low key.
And low-key, that's exactly what this neighborhood is. Not a lot of traffic, not a lot of foot traffic either, aside from people occasionally walking their dog. That's mostly the people I was talking to today. So the Pima County Sheriff here was giving those updates. The latest from the Sheriff's Office here is they don't plan to have a press availability today, and they don't have any scheduled unless something develops. We'll be here on the ground and we'll keep you updated. Sandra, John.